Hey, welcome to my channel. I am Dr. Sharice. I help Black men and women heal from trauma and toxic relationships. I have 4 couples that I wanted to go over today that have been up and down the news feed. And I'm going to give out a summary of what's going on with each of them before I give my commentary. But if you want like in-depth, maybe like newsworthy information about what's going on, I do recommend Jamie That's Me YouTube channel. If you like more of a laid-back presentation, I love Rodney the Voice and how he gives his commentary and all of the recordings and everything. So I want to start with Dr. Umar. He really is a doctor, right? So people have been aware that Dr. Umar is a scammer for a long time. The fact that he's still a part of the community really, I think, reflects the worst of us, that there are a lot of people in pain, a lot of people looking for some kind of male black leadership, and he fits. Really, he does. He's tall. I mean, I think he's good looking, right? He's smart. He's like witty, very much black centric in his presentation. So I understand why people follow him. I really do. He's a scammer, but I completely understand why people follow him. So he's in the news because his daughter, a 22-year-old, recently came out and said that she tried to reach out to him. He basically ignored her. Like when she did share like the information, the text messages that were back and forth, he didn't deny that he was her father, but he also didn't want to supply her with the information she wanted, which was who's my siblings, like who's my sister. I heard you have another daughter. I would like to get in contact with her. She doesn't appear to want anything to do with him, like to have a relationship with him. But she did highlight, like, basically, you're a deadbeat. He's like, how could I be a deadbeat when I've given money? If you're new to my channel, you know, understand there's a definite separation between finances of a child and the emotional well-being of a child. Like to foster their emotional well-being, which is just as important as supplying money or housing or food, you have to actually talk to them. Right? So you can be a deadbeat in different ways. So I think that's pretty accurate. Nothing about Dr. Umar surprises me. And I was so hesitant to talk about him before. I am a real psychologist. Like really, really. I'm licensed in multiple states. I am highly ethical. I'm credible. Like you can easily find my dissertation, my degree, all of that stuff online. Him, not so much. He really does have a degree, but he's not licensed in anything. But he has used it to peddle, his scamming. The scam, what's the scam? Money. He's wanting to get money and credibility. I don't know if clout is really the right word, but how I think part of what his agenda has been is money, but different ways to get money. So the one major way I was introduced to him around money was him saying that he was gonna build a school for boys. Now, if you know anything about the black community in America, like the boys are in crisis. The black boys, absolute crisis. So that has been that way for a very long time. Him coming in and saying that he wants to help fix this issue, I think was very inspirational to a lot of people. And people donated upwards of $1 million to him to build this school. If you know anything about business or leadership or finances, you know it would take a lot more than $1 million to build a school, employ people, all of that stuff. So he was way over his head, but also was not transparent. It's just a lot of things that I think yeah, I was hesitant when I first did my video because I have another video of him reviewing him when he was on Harley Initiated podcast. I thought it was irresponsible for them to host him and also not hold him to task and hold him accountable. But just another one of those problems with men, just being around men and allowing bad behavior to continue for financial gain. So I'm not surprised that he's also being accused of being physically abusive to his daughter's mother. I'm not surprised that he's not married because a woman would expose him. I promise you, a woman would expose like all the things. I don't know how deep it goes, right? But I can tell you, this man is not trustworthy. This man is not a man of integrity. Umar, I just think is one of the worst grifters, or how do you say when you're like pandering? Like I think he panders to poor black people, sort of like the pastors of the church where they teach you about abundance and give me all your money, but you're still poor. I just don't think he's a good person. I really don't think he's a good person. And if you're watching this video, you're probably, I don't know, not a fan of Dr. Umar. The people that it needs to reach, I don't really see them getting the message anytime soon. We'll see. We'll see what happens, but nothing about Dr. Umar in terms of all of the negativity surprises me. Next on my list is Halle and DDG. Now, I have followed the Bailey sisters. Like, I was rooting for Chloe when she came out with her album. I really enjoyed them, how they presented themselves, their sisterhood. I have four sisters. So just like the branding of them from their YouTube years to being signed to Beyonce's label to now, movie stars, all of that stuff. I'm just really happy and impressed with all of the things that they've done. Halle got into a relationship with a man who was jealous of her. That's DDG. Jealous probably isn't the right word, but I think it covers enough of what was being presented. She's more successful than him. She's more praised than him. She's seen in a more positive light than him. She is able to do a lot of things, get access to a lot of things that he doesn't have. And so I think for a lot of men, I don't want to say most men, but I think for a lot of men, their ego is something they have to contend with. And being with a woman who is taller than them, has more money than them, is very difficult and would take a certain level of emotional maturity. Now, I don't think Halle or DDG are emotionally mature, but often in these kind of toxic relationships, because I definitely think they were in a toxic relationship, he is much more emotionally immature than her. And often for women, because I feel so connected to her story, because I don't talk about my son's father much. I thought about doing a video on co-parenting where I brought him on and we talked about like the process. When I started talking to him about it, it just didn't sound like it was going to be a helpful video. I'm going to make that video on my own, talking about how do you co-parent with an emotionally immature parent? Like, how do you go about doing that? Because that is the way that we were able to do it. The story recently with DDG and Halle is he says that he went over to pick up his son, but his son was sick. He knew that ahead of time. And once he got there, he went down to the downstairs and then he was kicked out, right? His son was sick. He was trying to help him, make him feel better, play with him, watch a movie with him, yada, yada, yada. And he was told that he had to go. He's leaving so much. Listen, I was 17 when I was pregnant. Haley's not that young when she got pregnant, but she's so young. She's accomplished much more, but she was so young when she got pregnant. I know what it's like to co-parent with a young adult man who is frustrated that he's not getting exactly what he wants. The parts of the story that he's leaving out, I have no idea what it is, but I could think of so many things of what's really happened and what went down and what was said that has led him to the point where he wants to bring it to social media. So a lot of people are saying, well, why don't you just go to the courts if you're saying you can't get your son when you want to? And it very much sounds like he's like, I feel like I should be able to pop up whenever I want to. I love my son, and that's great, but you can't just pop up whenever you want to. This is not your woman. You don't have unlimited access to her. You have to plan things. But then he reveals that he doesn't even directly talk to her. Like, they haven't been getting along for so long that there is an intermediary who translate information back and forth about when he can do pickups and where he can go and all of those things. I would not be surprised if that man did something at some point in time, like not now, but at some point in time, did something in her home or was disrespectful or something. She's like, okay, you can come pick him up, but you can't stay here. Like, you cannot stay in my home. I don't know if she's dating somebody new or there's anybody around, because he made comments about not, I don't care who she's with or what man or whatever. I don't know. That's really, it's none of our business. I am so, I don't know. Surprise is not the right word. It's just these young people that put all their business on the internet, I don't really get. Like, running to the internet to calm your feelings instead of running to your therapist to help you problem solve and critically think. Okay, I hope, he still has a lot of maturing to do. There's an opportunity for it. And maybe there's an older man reaching out to him right now to help him like navigate this. He said he doesn't want to go to the court because it would make his his child unhappy. I don't think that's the reason. I think if he goes through the court, then he will have much less access to her and everything will be written out pretty clearly that there won't be much back and forth. And I think he kind of really likes, that's part of the toxic relationship pattern. He really likes the back and forth. And they used to do it in the relationship, break up, get back together, break up, get back together. And she's like, no, I'm done. I'm done with you. But he still wants that access to her to be able to create these little dramas in his life. I think it's so unfortunate. But this is so common. Like, Haley is not absolved from accountability in contributing to this, because part of this is there was a miscommunication at some point, and you can't have a miscommunication on only one side. If two people in the conversation, somebody didn't understand something, somebody didn't ask for clarity, somebody disrespected a boundary, there's whatever it is going on. I think it's just sad. Sad for the kid, but hopefully they figure it out. I think it's time to go to the court and just to put things in writing. Is that something I would do? No, I absolutely hate the court. But if I also have someone going to social media constantly, like, I wouldn't wait for him to do it. If I was Haley, I would do it. I would just say, we're not even playing this game anymore. We're getting a mediator, and it is what it is. You can have it for the summer. I don't know, because he made a comment about, like, yeah, you know what it's going to be? Like, I'm a black man, and the judge is going to say this is so rare. It's not that rare. That's one of the fallacies of black parenthood, of manhood, that fathers always abandon their kids. It happens a lot more in America, but there are so many fathers who are actively involved in their lives that I thought, oh, it just speaks to his ignorance. And I don't think he's a bad guy, right? I don't think he's like actively harmful. I just think he's very immature, maybe quite a bit manipulative, but just has a lot of growing to do because he's a young man. Go to the courts, get the people to tell y'all what to do, because there's a lot of money involved, and all of this social like everything he does gets picked up by the blogs and people on social media, because Haley is such a big star. And he's such an embarrassment. Oh my God. Like Roddy the Voice, I also don't like embarrassment. You're not going to embarrass me. This needs to get shut down now. The health and wellness of my child is the most important thing. We're not playing these games. Because, in the court, they're also going to say where you can go, where you can't go. They're going to put in terms of how long you have to be dating somebody before they can meet the child. Like, we can get it squared up. This is exactly what I would do. Okay. Moving on. I think let's talk about Gabrielle Union. She was recently on somebody's podcast. I feel like it's like a Black Girl something podcast. And she was talking about how she let go of the need to go 50-50 with Dwayne Wade. Now, Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade, I think they have like a really messy background, right? Like, he had a baby on her during a break in their relationship. And then I don't know this for sure, but there's like talks of him and other women. And part of why he has custody of the kids is because he didn't want to pay child support. I don't know. I don't really know anything about this man. The guy I do like, the Savannah's husband, I like him as like, although I am sure he cheated on her too, but I like his presentation better than Dwayne Wade's. Also, the way that they paraded their trans daughter around, I thought was odd. I thought it was odd. But people are allowed to do whatever they want, and we don't always know all the ins and outs. But I think people like me could see the hurt when Gabrielle Union first came out and said, oh no, we pay everything 50-50. We pay everything, everything is split down. Like, right? We could see the pain behind a statement like that. I'm not familiar with this like idea or this fear, although I know where it comes from. I was not conditioned to not depend on a man. I understood the nature of a man. Like, I was taught to understand the nature of a man, and that men don't give money for nothing. If this is your first time knowing that, welcome. Okay, we talk about real stuff over here. Men do not offer their money for nothing. Even if he loves you, right? Part of what he wants with the love is your love in return. So if a man is giving you money and you don't really have nothing with him, like, understand that is going to implode at some point. All those girls that are talking about all the money they get from men, the rent, all that stuff, they are giving something for that money. So that's part of just how most men interact when it comes to their money. I know that there are women who are told, do not depend on a man for anything. Do not depend on a man for any money. And the pain or the fear point in that is that if even in your marriage, if you depend on a man, he's going to embarrass you. He's going to neglect you. He's going to take all the money. Like, there's so much fear about what can happen if you surrender to your partner and allow them to have that side of responsibilities. Because, I mean, the man is a multimillionaire. Why is it so important to pay half of the bills? And even if you're in a marriage where both of you are contributing to the household, if you believe in like leadership and not leadership, if you believe in man of the household, kind of you're his helpmate or his support or something like that, then he's supposed to pay most of the bills in the home. The women who make just as much as their men or make more than their men, I do encourage if you want him to have, listen, I, part of this discussion is an acknowledgement because I've done multiple videos about how men need to evolve. I think I can say men need to evolve while also acknowledging the current man and what most men would want to feel like they're important and valued. Most men want to take care of their family. They want to be able to do that in some kind of way. I know that men need to evolve past viewing their worth as part of what they can give, but it's a transition process. And so one of the ways I think we do that is men should be responsible for the mortgage. When you really look at relationships where men are not paying the mortgage, where men are not really responsible for much of nothing, or hold to task for doing other household things, those women, when they describe what the relationship is actually like, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't sound good. And those men are complaining about how they're not having sex. So I think there's a lot of strategies to help this. But in Gabrielle Union's, she talked about crying, about what sharing with him that she doesn't want to go 50-50 anymore. I don't know if she was in therapy or something. She came to these awarenesses, but I thought it was so telling. Her emotional response to feeling like she's losing something by surrendering to him and allowing him to take on more of the financial duties, because feeling like she has less of a say or less of a voice when she's not providing financially, which I understand, but I don't really have much experience with that in my real life, not even with like the women around me. We are perfectly okay with our men taking care of things, and also feeling very much entitled to share our opinion. Like, my participation in this relationship is not based on how much money I contribute to it. My say so about what happens and what doesn't happen is not dependent on how much financial control I have. A partner with somebody who cares about my opinion, who wants me to be happy, I don't have to then pay half of the mortgage to feel like I'm entitled to say yes or no to something. Does that make sense? I hope she sparks more conversation with people, because in the age of soft wife life and women being more feminine, it's definitely one of those on both sides, men and women, balancing not gender roles. Like, I'm not sure gender roles are very helpful, but understanding the nature of a man, how men present right now, what we're actually dealing with, and finding the balance between this being a healthy relationship where you feel valued. Like, what do you need? Like, what do I need to do to help you feel loved and supported in this relationship? And I'm happy for her, regardless of whatever is going on in their relationship that I have no idea. I'm happy that she was able to release some of that fear. And then the last topic for today is Sweet Tea and Greg. So I'm a bit behind on my videos. I'm going to do like separate videos about some of the topics raised on Married to Medicine, because I think they brought up some important nuances about, Heavenly calling men not real men. I want to do a video on that, because I think homophobia, just in America, but also in the Black community, it's not like it's special in the Black community, but I talk to Black people. So I want to talk about that. I want to detail what is emotionally abusive about Sweet Tea and Greg's relationship, but also highlighting the physical abuse that he enacted on Quad in their marriage. And there was one other thing I wanted to talk about with Married to Medicine, but now I forget what it is. Unhealed trauma? I don't know what it is. But Sweet Tea and Greg. So Greg, I perceived as being the instigator in the potential of a fight between him and Quad's man. Quad's man, right? Very inappropriate for him to run up on Greg. Greg, inappropriate for him to stand up, hold out his arms, blow his smoke. I can see male posturing, okay? Greg then going to the police and thinking about filing something when I would agree nothing really happened. I don't like the courts. I don't like the police. When actual harm has not been done, I just don't feel a need to involve those violence workers, because I don't need y'all to do anything violent. So I don't like to call men bees, very weak is not the right word either. It is it is so messed up that Greg was seriously thinking about filing charges against King, and still so emotionally attached to his feeling of loss when it comes to Quad. So he made a song about how he wants to be set free when he's been divorced for like 5 years from Quad. He also, because I think his ego is so fragile, I cannot diagnose anyone with a personality disorder, but he definitely demonstrates like a lot of self-centeredness, a lot of passive aggressiveness, a lot of condescending language in his communication to Sweetie. So when because I went back to watch an episode, I don't know what was happening in the episode, but she was cooking. They were doing like a stark contrast between Quad calling him to let him know that she was not cooking dinner that night, to Sweet Tea literally doing all the things that Dr. G said that he wanted. And he came in and still complained about something that she did. And you could see the look on her face, like feeling like deflated. How she just was like, ugh, like, why are you criticizing me in this moment? She didn't say any of that. But this was in the last season. In this season, one of the last episodes where he calls her naive, where he's talking down to her, it's not just what he's saying, it's like how he's saying it also, and his like nonverbal communication, where it's like him calling her naive felt like him saying, you a effing stupid bee, is what it felt like, right? And she is trying to remain calm and not ignite him, I think, even more, because then he walks away from the conversation. There's words for this in couples therapy, right? This is like stonewalling. We're just having a conversation. You leaving the conversation before it's done, before I finish saying my piece, is a detriment to our relationship. This is what adds to toxicity. Her following him, although I think now that she followed him because the producers told her to, but then following him and trying to have a conversation with him behind locked doors, with the mics picking up everything, him blaming her. What you blaming this woman for? Like, she's probably the least to blame in all of this. Most of this was you and Quad going back and forth and starting stuff, and then King adding in his physical aggression. He was taking zero accountability with his wife. And then afterwards, when Sweet Tea met with Toya and them, I don't know, it felt like she had just left the house with an argument. Like they had just argued about what she's gonna say or what she's not gonna say when she gets there to do the scene. And she just came like defeated. Like she just came, whatever y'all wanna do. If y'all wanna be friends with me, if y'all pick, I don't know. So I am curious to see how long she's going to last in this marriage. Right. So I encourage women to focus on themselves when they're in relationships like this, to not run after a man and to just let him be who he is. And then you gain more clarity, gain more peace, and then we'll see what happens. Mostly women leave men like this because the change is so slow. Look at, he's been divorced from quite, like he did this throughout their marriage. He's been divorced for 5 years, and now he is continuing the same behaviors. It is much more likely for her to find a healthy relationship if she leaves this one. There is always a chance that Dr. Gregory will grow. These relationships are, I don't know, I don't want to say if it's so common. Toxic relationships are quite, yeah, prevalent. That is true. That's what you see on the blogs. They are all over the place. I think most people are in not so healthy relationships. So just ending the relationship, ending the marriage is not something I would encourage, right? If she was my client, I wouldn't be saying, oh, you need to leave this man. Like, you don't even tell women, unless they are in immediate danger, you don't tell women to leave the relationship, because they have such a back and forth about whether they should stay or whether they should go. And a big part of this for Sweet Tea is the optics, especially, I don't know, these group of women are very much invested in calling themselves wives, even if they're not happy in their marriage, even if they're not doing wife things, even if their husband is not around, which is just, I think, part of that idea, because single moms are often shamed, right? Like, if you're not attaching yourself to a man because a man is one of the best things, and oh, a black man who's successful, why would you leave a successful black man? When I definitely encourage women to leave men that are not respectful to them, that are not loving to them, that do not share their values. But it's more, once you already get married, right? I think it's more important to focus on how you can be a better person, how you can be a better wife, so that you're not adding to the toxicity. Does that make sense? I'm not saying she cannot fix this man, but sometimes women can inspire men to be better. This is not sounding right. I don't want. I do want Sweetie to leave him. That is true. I do think it would be in her best interest to leave him, but since she is going to stay to save face and to try to work on her marriage, how about using some of the tools that can actually help to encourage healthy conversation with him? That's what I'm saying. Because a lot of people are in relationships with emotionally immature people. It just so happens he's emotionally abusive, and maybe I think they probably have been fighting. Like I don't, yeah, I think they've gotten into a couple, maybe more fights, like pushing or I don't. Okay, I feel like I'm changing my mind as I'm talking. It might be physically unsafe for her. And if it is, I would encourage her to leave. If it's not, therapy for herself, couples therapy to help them communicate better is what I would encourage. Okay. That's that on that. I am going to finish out watching the Married to Medicine series. Maybe I'll come back to do one or two more videos after, like just about the show. But I'm definitely going to do a few videos just on the topics presented because I think they can foster really good conversation. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you like this video, give it a like. Subscribe to my channel for more videos like this because I'll do a hot topic like maybe every 2 weeks or something. And thank you for watching.